Lakshmi Narayan Taskar was somebody who taught at the JJ School of Art, but his paintings, the watercolor paintings that he made, were about the sacred geography of various pilgrimage towns. But he'd also studied architecture, so there is a very interesting interplay between fixed built form and the fluidity of rivers that flow and waterfront economies, rituals by middle class women. It's quite interesting that when Dhurandhar writes about him or when Prahladanand Dhon write about him, they paint him as a very strict disciplinarian in the institution. But he took a lot of liberties when it came to his own style of painting. He used a very light palette of colors. He used a lot of white, which in some sense is against the principles of academic watercolor, because you don't use white, you use the paper that's white in color. And they're almost atonal, his paintings. And you also see the kind of pencil work that he used to do. So he used to do a kind of a light pencil work behind, and then he used to put these light washes of color on top. Quite often he also used a middle tone of paper. So he did not necessarily start with just white, but he quite often used white colored paper. What's also interesting is that he painted the changing landscape of Bombay and the surrounding towns. It's also, in some sense, a portrait of the changing social relationships that occurred on account of the introduction of railway lines, etc. Because women had begun to travel. You see all these kind of encounters between different social types. In these kind of in-between spaces of pilgrimage spots and railway stations, etc., and public spaces. For example, Baburao Sadvelkar says that his paintings aren't found in any of the major museums. So in some sense, he's a mystery artist, because he was such a prolific painter and he painted such amazing works that were well received by the Salon circuit. But interestingly, the National Gallery of Modern Art has some very interesting works by him. And they're all painted, using this wonderful golden light. And most of them are about waterfront rituals by middle class Brahmin women. He traveled to all the important sites of pilgrimage, painted those landscapes. But he also was a very good portrait painter. So there is these very interesting portraits that he has painted of middle class Maharashtrian society, and there's a certain kind of a luminosity in his palette that you don't really see in anybody else's work.